right. Hello and good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're coming in from. This is another episode of He Said, She Said for Wild and Well Together. We are this week talking about wild. Our name is Wild, Wild and Well Together. This idea that whether we're in a wild season, we're in a well season, or something of the combination, that we are together. And so, breaking those apart, today we're going to talk about the wild. And rather than getting into the reckless, the chaos, the crazy of life that does exist. This is more of the idea of being courageous and doing things for ourselves, even if it seems wild to others or even to ourselves, and saying yes to doing things or believing in things that give us freedom. So more of the, man, that's so wild to do it, and yet I want to. Maybe for some it is that YOLO, but not YOLO that's reckless. It's the, all right, let's dig into life. Let's do life together. I'm going to take that step and say yes to an opportunity at work. I'm going to change careers. Maybe in family, it's saying, this is crazy, but we're going to try and have a kid, or something of the sorts. So just different opportunities, maybe living abroad. I've been talking to a few college students and they're like, when I graduate, I think I just want to go live abroad. And I'm like, do it. Why not? So that would be some of the wild examples, and we'll get into more. But what are you coming in with today, Johnny?
Yeah, I think that this theme is perfectly summarizes the last 6 months, in particular, the last month or like 6 weeks of my life. So I'm excited I'm gonna share my story in more detail because I think outside in almost looks reckless, but it is wild. And the journey that I've been on has been very intentional to like buck the usual and get out of what we were. And so I'm gonna share some stories about me and give you the straight up, but I think we should do some high-low buffalo first. What do you think?
Yes, love that. Can't wait to see. For those of you who are watching this, I have a curtain right here that keeps blowing on me. Hello, Buffalo. My high is that I'm in Northwest Wyoming, and we're having a ton of fun on a ranch. Need to meet you out here with your family. We're riding horses. We're getting to play in the creeks. They have a pool here, and then just a lot of really good food, and no Wi-Fi except for the local like saloon main house. And so, it's just fun. It's so good for my body and for this year. And for those of you that know me, or if you don't, I love horses, and I fortunately grew up with them, and they're so therapeutic, and there's just so many things. So my kids love it. I know you and my hubby talk from time to time, and what I was starting to tell you is I told Nick, because he's working while we're out here playing, and he'll join us tomorrow, but I'm like, guess what? I think I might try and find ponies to be therapeutic ponies. And he's like, stop, Beck. We live in the suburbs. And I'm like, but they count as therapeutic if we do the right training and courses, and then we can have them. And so he's just like rolling his eyes. But that is my high. It's a big high. It's great to be out here. The low is that it's stinking hot and there's no AC. And so this girly who does not love camping and things like that, we have these windows, and again, amazing place, but we're hoping that the breeze is coming, and some rain's cooling us off today. So we've been in no AC, 104 degrees the last 3 days, but we had some rain today, so that's cooling. And then my buffalo would be, I am just in a really fun season with work at the University of Denver, and really enjoying my students. And they're all graduate students, going to be school counselors or counselors. And I did high-low buffalo with them, and some of them are now using it in their lives. So just some of those things that I feel like this community is growing. And as I say that, John, what is yours? Because I'm highly distracted by this blowing curtain. But yeah, what are your high-low buffaloes?
We're gonna be closing on our house this coming week in Oregon, and so everything there has gone great. Everything's been smooth and,
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
um, yeah, so it's gonna be good. The low was I don't know what we did record the last, but I mean, the mouse infestation at the last Airbnb really came to a head. I think I told you that maybe one ran down my shoulder, had another one run over my feet. It was a full-on mouse-infested house, and we ended up having to drive a Miriam had to drive a U-Haul of stuff up to Oregon, and we moved the family out of the house at, like, 8 PM on a Wednesday into a new place. Airbnb has been amazing about this. They've been, like, really accommodating, and, it was not fun, and we've had, like, trauma responses from some of the kids about the mice infestations. We've had to do some reminding that mice are prey and not predators, and uh, the buffalo. I'd say my buffaloes. I'm like we're in the city of Sacramento, and I'm back to city living, which I haven't experienced since I was in my 20s, and it's fun. Like I walked to dinner last night, so I feel very young, hip, and cool. I'm doing what the youths do, but it's fun. It's fun being in the city. Yeah.
I love that with yeah, I feel really cool for you because you and I sent those ships sailing long ago, and so the fact that you could be there is the best. What about you don't need to say where, obviously, but um are you living rural, urban, or suburban when you all move to Oregon?
We're gonna be in. I mean, it's a small town, but we're gonna be 3 blocks from the town square. And the town that we're moving to is, like, on a hill, on a mountain biking hill, and there's an amazing park and a great downtown, and we're 3 blocks from it, a flat walk there, but actually have a bigger piece of property than we did in California, and we're 15 minutes from my in-laws that are out on, you know, 6 acres or something like that, so we get the best of both worlds. We're in town, but can get out, and get some fresh air. I mean, it's not a big town in the first place, so we're in good shape.
Gosh, I'm excited for you because it feels like best of both worlds having visited for your wedding and stuff, and so I'm like, hey, like I don't know, if we'll go into wild. We'll use this as a transition, but the fact that you've gotten to live the dream in the big city life, right? San Fran for many years. Y'all met there, fell in love there, and then now y'all have lived in Sacramento and surrounding areas and things like that. And then now you're like, hey, let's go ahead and take this leap of faith. So go into that a bit, like because it does sound wild. Of you and Miriam have had great jobs. They've put food on the table. It's allowed you guys to live, build a family, all those things. And you're like, hey, I think I want to do something different. And you've gone from that transition to I think to I am doing something different. And not only am I doing something different, but I'm being paid for the thing that I'm doing different. So yeah, share about all that, if you will.
Yeah. So, starting with the headline, I left my company that I worked at for 13 years to start a business, and it felt like walking the plank, and it has gone very well. And, I'm a month into this, but I had, like, the best. I never would have thought that leaving my company was gonna be one of the best career weeks of my life, and that's what it turned into. And so, like, I'm gonna give you the timeline, and then I'm gonna, like, of the week, and then I'm gonna go back to what led to this. So, I had made the decision to leave and start a consultancy for the work that I do, which is brand management and helping like define what a brand is, their strategy, and how to execute, and particularly in consumer product goods. I came into work let me rewind. It's Tuesday. We cleared contingencies on our house being sold in Sacramento, meaning like someone was buying our house, that we'd cleared all the contingencies, it's ready to go. That then gave me the freedom to say, if I don't have a paycheck next month, at least I have I won't, we will be able to put food on the table. And that was the leap of faith, is to sell the house so that I could pursue this thing. So I gave notice to my employer of 13 years on Wednesday morning. So on Wednesday, I gave notice to my employer, and I had given them some a heads up like 6 weeks prior. I talked to some people that I respected, and gone about it in a way that I think is the right way, which is, "Hey, I'm not here for a long time, but I'm here. While I'm here, I'm gonna give you my best." And I was not looking for this was not a money shakedown. This is like I had done the work to understand that there's a fundamental difference in who I am and my attributes and what my employer can offer me over the lifespan of my career. And money wasn't going to solve it, which I would have said I'm a crazy person in my 20s if someone had told me that. So the first person I gave notice to was my interim manager. They were disappointed that they weren't going to be able to work with me, but genuinely happy that I was going to pursue my dream, and told me that I was leaving on great terms, and the conversations was gonna have today, I was gonna be pleased with. I was like, "Great, okay, 8:30, it's going well so far." So I called my chief commercial officer, someone in the C-suite, doesn't really matter, and I had a good relationship with this person, and their reaction was similar, which was like, "No hard feelings. We couldn't have asked for anything more from you, and you're leaving on perfect terms, and we'll have you back, should I want to." Which, like, again, did not anticipate this at all. And his parting advice was like was three things. Number one, to be brutally honest in my exit interview as far as like my observations of where we were and how I could be of help in leaving, understand like what it feels like to be an employee. Number two was like when leaving on the best possible term, and that I have the right to come back. And then number three is, hey, in a world where you are a consultant and that's the business that I'm starting, what would it take to keep you on for another 3 weeks? And I was not anticipating that. Like I was fully prepared to and had already started hitting the farmers market on weekends to go meet business owners that I think might need my help. And I don't want to say, maybe operating from a place of scarcity, but actually thinking about it as like, I have to build a moat to make sure, like, if all these other things fail, like, I'm going to be okay. And so to then have that offer on the spot was like incredible. Whether or not I decided to take it, like the fact that this individual and the people around him felt like they valued me enough to then offer me this opportunity was like a really nice pat on the back as I go out and start this journey.
No, you're good. While you're doing that, I, I think it's funny because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, did you like, were you gonna go shopping at the farmer's market?" And they're like, "Actually, this beef company needs this like, kombucha company could use this marketing," like, because I love a good farmer's market, so I got the giggles there because 'cause I'm like, "Did you at least get to go taste them and try them?" Or was it like, I'm pounding the pavement back to your sales day where you're repping, like, in the Safeways and the King Soopers and the grocery stores and gas stations of the world?
It was like, yeah, certainly going to there are things that I know that I can't help on, and then there are other things that I go, "There's a product here that can scale, and they don't have a brand." And there's a yogurt company, as an example, that's my white whale. I think it's the best yogurt I've ever tasted. It's an amazing product, and I want to help them build a brand, but I can't coerce, All I can do is make my case, and I have not since then had the chance to follow up with them, but okay, so back to Wednesday afternoon. I'm like telling my coworkers at this point, saying goodbye, and and their reaction is so supportive. And by the way, I could use help on my brand. The founders that I work with could use help on their brand. I called a work mentor. We'd By the end of that day, he had like worked something out where like I can do work on behalf of his company in this new capacity. And like, here we go again. There's another way that like I'm going to be okay. Just another pat on the back of like a potential of opportunity. And then I called the founders that I've worked with for 4 years that aren't inside my company, but I've worked on their brand for their company. And I was expecting it not to be an easy discussion. And it was quite the contrary, similar reaction. And end of day Wednesday, the proof point to me was the anticipation. There's a Stoic that has something to say about this, and I'm forgetting who it is, but the anticipation of the thing is so much worse than it actually is. And so I was expecting this to be I knew I had to do this, and I was expecting this to I wasn't sure how this was gonna go, but I had given myself some incremental confidence by having conversations earlier, 6 weeks earlier, to say, like, "Flag is raised, not asking you to do anything," but I was not pulling the rug out from under them. And then to see the reaction of, like, there are people willing to help me on my journey in very tangible ways by the end of in just one day, 8 hours was incredible. So fast forward to Friday, a friend of mine who I've known for 13 years, who I'd expressed interest in working with, and somewhat recently, the last 6 months, as I saw what he was building. So I have a friend who I've known for 13 years, very smart guy, great human being. Like at my bachelor party, he's just a great person. He'd offered me to come work with him 12 years ago. I was brand new at what I was doing. I was like, no, I'm good. Like I had just won a sales incentive. So like, I'm good, you know? And that was probably the dumbest career move ever for me, frankly. But I met Miriam, so it's totally worth it. So I had seen what
Way to dig yourself out of that.
that's right. That's right. So I'd seen what he's building and I said, I think I can help here. And I talked to him earlier this spring and I said, look, here's why I think I can add value. And I'm so unaccustomed to doing this. I haven't interviewed for a company, maybe one interview in my 13 years since working at my company. I haven't interviewed. It's crazy, right? So by Friday, I'm checking in with him just to see how things are going. And he said, well, look, why don't you bring your consultancy inside my company? You get to do exactly what you were doing. You keep all the money that you were going to make, and you're going to help us like build this other thing as well with part of your time. And and it allowed me that like the nature of this is such that I could still run my own business, but then also contribute on a team and build an enduring product that would allow me to not just be a sole proprietor for the rest of my life. And it's in it's in advertising technology, which that's enabled by AI. And so like again, another moment of like this is greater than I could have ever expected. And this role will like evolve over time, but what I'm doing allows me to again, like run my business, build something that's enduring with a team of people that I really believe in and that are awesome. And so all of this came to be because I was not Miriam and I said like this where we are now is really good and we have all these blessings, but it is grinding on us. We are traveling. I'm traveling half the time. Whenever I travel, I leave 3 kids and her working. She's commuting, and we're just trying to keep our head above water, both like from a mental health, like stress level, and financially, frankly. And I think what I'm proud of and what the wild moment is here, the through line is like we weren't willing to just say this is gonna be good enough, and we're gonna sit back and take it. I had frankly had to get a little bit mad. I had to get mad and frustrated, and I took incremental steps, and one of those incremental steps was doing this podcast with you, is you reaching out to me, and I think about the conversations that we had at the start of that to where we are now, right? My concern about, well, I don't know how this would be perceived, and I don't know that, like, if my word gets out to my employer that I'm doing a podcast, it's like all this stuff looming over me. And I think about like where I am now, which is back to like living authentically and doing what I believe is the priority, which is informed by my family and my relationship with God and like being spirit led as opposed to some pretense of like what matters in a career. And I've come a long way from there to now. And it's been small incremental steps. So like that I could argue is one of the first steps. Like fasting played a big part of this in both my like spirituality and like my ability to do hard things as well. And then frankly, like stepping up and just getting getting experience doing something other than what I was paid to do from 8 to 5 every day. And, we talk a lot about side hustles and, there's a side hustle economy. I think this time was just different because the universe and my friends were willing to give me a try, right? You yourself included. You are among 3 to 4 or like 3 to 5 friends that have said like, "Hey, I think I need help with this thing I'm building." And I was able to start just doing little things to help my friends build something that then showed to myself that actually I'm capable of building something and I'm capable of turning this into something that can support what I like is a real job. So I say all this because what seems like a huge swing, which is John quit his job and sold his house within 14 days and is moving to a small town in Oregon. Has he gone crazy? Is actually something that's been meditated on, prayed on, and planned for over the course of a year. And the incremental confidence was taken in small steps to get here, but it was a concerted thing. I became obsessive about making this come to fruition. Not to the point of like unhealthily, but up to that up to that edge. Like I became, I gave myself a habit, started to just do it. And then it became something that I could prove to myself that I could do. And then I started taking the steps, and this is where I am now. To be clear, where I am right now is I'm not under contract with any potential clients, but I am less, so I don't know where my first next real paycheck is going to come, but I am less stressed than I have been in the last 2 years. And I feel like I have a calm because I know it will come if I just stay on top of it. So that is my stump speech about being wild and what I've done and trying to live the things that we talk about together here.
So many things to unpack there. One, my like kindergarten self just wants to sit next to you. Like, I wish we were in person that I could just be like, yes, you did it. Like, that's where I'm at. That I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so pumped for you because having known you for 20 plus years now, where I'm like, yes, yes, you did. Because even if we talk about back to October, your first thing that you said when we got into why are we doing this? And you just said the word multiple times. And when we got into rituals and rhythms and purpose, and you're like, I'm a builder. I'm a builder, 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 whether that's woodworking, whether that's with companies, whether that's with my brand, my family, whatever. I'm a builder. And you've said that. You're like, people have taken a chance to say, can you build this with me? And so the fact that 9 months later, you're like, I'm building my own career. Like, again, that's for me as your friend is like, yes, you are. Like, again, I just picture us as kindergartners or first graders back again, Miss Cooper's class, just like, yes. Or Miss Marcus and Miss Bush's class and stuff. And so pump for you, like full transparency. And I know it's taken a lot of work that we can't see, that you and Miriam have prayed about and grinded and fasted and gone through those really practical steps and been patient in. And so I'm just like, yeah, just stoked for y'all because I think something that Nick and I are going through, and it might be where the podcast goes, but is just this idea of how do we remove some of the hurry? How do we remove a lot of the quickness and the busyness to really get down to the small town life or to being really good neighbors or to just like saying what is best for the four of us or the five of you and just starting to get into that place of like, no, I am going to bet on myself because it allows me to bet on my family first. And I think Mr. Rogers was right about it. Like when we take care of ourselves and we take care of those right next to us, when each of us does that, we actually do take care of the greater community and we take care, we make changes in culture because we're able to have the capacity to build and we're able to have the capacity to say, let me take that leap of faith. And so I love that, yeah, you're in it to win it and you're surrounded by really good people because you've invested in those people. You've invested in me and Nick and our family, and you've invested in your buddies, I know as well. And so why wouldn't we ask you? Like you bring that back to the table and it's that symbiotic relationship where I'm like, of course I'm going to come to you. And I'm guessing at certain points you're like, in my stress or my lack of sleep or self-doubt, why would someone come to me? Am I worth it? And even in my own journey, right? Of like, why would John say yes to me? And then I'm like, no, because there is that symbiotic relationship. So one of the wild things to me is I think often we're like, I can't do it. And then we dig into what's the actual why? Is it rejection? Is it practical of putting food on the table? Is it I'm fearful? What is it? And then when we actually can name it, when we have those people wrap around us, then it's like, no, I'm stepping into that wild. Like it is wild that you took your three kids who are 10 and under 10 and said, I'm going to quit my job and take you to a new state. Right. And like that statement alone in 14 days is wild. However, then when you peel back the layers and you say, here's what's been happening, then it's like, oh, that's not so wild. I mean, so it's still like a big, brave step, but it's doable and we hope the best for you. And why wouldn't you take it, right? Especially if it gives you guys the freedom to walk to dinner while also being 15 minutes away and having more acreage and living the dream of simplicity and just some other beautiful things. So again, cheers to your wild adventure and thanks for saying yes to this wild adventure.
Yeah, thank you. I think there the other things that come to mind as we talk about just like some of the themes that we've discussed is two things really come to mind. One is community, and then the other is communication and relationships as it relates to like spousal relationships. So community, one of the things that I've been like so overwhelmed and humbled by is the way that my network has shown up for me. And it is crossed between like the professional network into the personal network, and people that I just never would have anticipated, like I couldn't even weren't on my radar are stepping in to help in ways that I could not have imagined. which is so cool. And I think I will own that it's a byproduct of like the way I approach the work the last, I don't know, however many years of my career, but it's also indicative of the human spirit and the human nature, which is we are so frequently can feel like the internet or that like people are mean spirited and like there's a troll culture, whether it's on Reddit or wherever. But this has been such a proving factor, or like a proof point of the opposite, which is people are inclined to help you on your journey. And you never know when like things come back to you. And like your character matters because it will pay off in moments later. And you can't approach it as if it will. Like you can't approach it like I need to get something from this person. Life's too short to do that. But if you do it the right way, I hope, from what I'm finding, I'm not, I don't have all the answers, but it has come back in ways that I could not have anticipated. So that's what I mean by community, part one. Part two of community is I'm getting the chance to work with very good friends, yourself included, building things. And it is so rewarding to be with to build something or things with people that you are like close with, you think are incredibly competent and inspired by. And so I get to choose who my coworkers are now in this. And some of those will be from previous walks of life, and some of those will be from people that I'm yet to meet. But that is like, man, if this is what mid-30s and beyond is, like, I'm in on that from a professional standpoint. You know what I mean? Like, wait, I get to choose who my coworkers are? And that's not an indictment on like whom I've worked with in the past. I just said how great they have been. I'm just saying that it's really cool to build something with someone who I've known for many years, and we've not worked together because we're just friends. Like, it's just from my social circle. And then the second piece is none of this is possible without a spouse that is like doesn't flinch and is like completely supportive. And if we aren't in lockstep in this, or like there's fissures in our marriage, like none of this happens. You know what I mean? Like, and it also means like what she prioritizes and what she cares about has to be, we have to be on the same page about. Because like, there's never a mention of, well, what does this mean for me? What does this mean for my career? Or what does this mean for my spending or my shopping this month? Like that wasn't ever a discussion. I was always been, since I went down this path, I've been pushed to pursue the dream, and we'll figure it out together. So like that is just, I think, comes back to the things that we've talked about around communication, and spousal relationships, and then community.
Come on now. I mean, amazing. And you do. You have a phenomenal partner who syncs up with you, and y'all are able to choose this then and say yes to these wild adventures, right? Marriage itself is one of the wildest adventures I've ever, maybe the most actually. Let's call it what it is. I'm like, the fact that you have a partner that's willing to do it with you. And for me, the other day he was, texting, I'll give a shout out there too. He was texting a friend that it lives in Seattle and we haven't seen in a decade, or Marcus, actually that's not true, in 5 years, because Marcus was teeny tiny, 5 years probably actually next month. And I'm like, how is he? I haven't heard him and like heard his name in so long. And since we were out there, and he's like, yeah, but I listened to your and John's podcast about texting someone if I thought of him, and he popped into my dream last night. And I'm like, no way, how is he and stuff. And so like just some of those joys where I'm like, thanks babe for supporting something. Like Nick's highly competent and he like crushes life, but he's like, no, I'm going to take time to invest into your world because I know that it's going to, it matters to me because you do, and vice versa. And don't get me wrong, I do, on the other side. And so thank you for your kind words too, even of like your and my mutual understanding of each other, and like, hey, let's go on this journey. Let's see what comes of it, and build and create and step into the wild adventures of life. And I think that that's where I'm at of, man, in our 30s, I love that you give excitement to our 30s, because often I feel like 30s and 40s are kind of the forgotten ages. And it's like you hit 50 and it's like, whoo, over the hill. And then, it's its own journey too. But heading into like mid 30s and beyond, I'm like, no, this can be so fun. And however, a lot of us, I think, get trapped into a world of momming or parenting, or we get trapped into, I'm not married yet, or we get trapped into, well, I've been in this job for 13 years. So why wouldn't I just stay? It puts food on the table, even though I'm grinding, or even though I'm exhausted, or even though I have to put so much time to things I don't value. And it's like, no, where's that spark when I was 22, maybe with a little bit more seasoned in life, where I'm like, okay, I'm going to make a choice, whether it's podcasting, creating my own business for you or for Miriam, Nick, and all the other people who are engaged in this community, to say, I'm going to do something for me and my community that is worthwhile, that allows me to live life better, even if that feels wild or even if it feels scary. I'm gonna step into it. But because I do have some wellness wrapped around me and then I have a whole community wrapped around me cheering me on, I'm going. Like, let's go deep end. I'm diving in. And so cheers to you for doing that and being an example to us in our mid-30s to say, hey, you can change your career. And when you do invest in other people, be surprised and trust that they'll catch you. They'll invest in you too. And that, in a world that feels so divisive, which is one of the things we talked about, our whys of doing this is in a world that's screaming at each other and or pulling apart. How do majority of us remind and say, like, no, we're still here and we're cheering you on and we're going to walk alongside you in the pain and we're pumped for what your story is. And so today, that's like another episode of Wild. Do you have anything else, or otherwise I'm going to quote your Stoic because I love.
No, I think quote the Stoic. That's the thing. That should be the takeaway. Which is, yeah. Do you have the quote? I'll find it if you don't.
I did. No, I did, because when you said, look, we can get into philosophies any day, you and I, and our community can with One Well together. But okay, Stoic philosopher Seneca said, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. He also noted, he suffers more than necessary who suffers before it is necessary. So this idea of the anticipation is far scarier and creates more suffering than the actual suffering or the actual event itself. And so you saying that, I'm like, mic drop. Where do we take that? That might be our new theme, because why not? Or like the through thread for this podcast, because that's it, is like, how do we give ourselves permission to actually go make friends, or to step into this new job, or to say yes to parenting well, or to say, I'm going to take my honey on a date night, whatever it might be, but I'm going to actually invest and be present, even though I'm nervous or anxious or fearful of what may come. So appreciate you and your wildness. Yeah, thanks for being on here as always, and to our community. And I'm excited. I want to come visit you now in a new state, or a new state for me. So
Come on out. Well, thank you for letting me rant and share my story, and thank you for your part in my journey.
yeah, let's build. John, like, again, stoked for you. I'm going to have to hang up so I can hear more details, because that's not, again, being private is important. And so I'm going to, jump off so that way then I can hear more about you. But that's another episode of He Said, She Said. We are grateful for y'all. We hope that you have a blessed week, and we will see you next week. Cheers.
Bye-bye.